I want to ask you about what happened to you recently in terms of John Rustad, leader of the BC Conservatives, removing you from caucus. What happened there?
Well, I was one of the AG critics, and there's been a story. It relates to the Law Society of British Columbia, and I'm a lawyer. I was a lawyer for many years, and I was the AG critic for the Conservative Party, and a story hit the news about a lawyer in Vancouver named Jim Heller was launching a defamation suit against the Law Society of British Columbia for his treatment at their hands over a continuing Indigenous awareness course that lawyers are mandated to take now. In a nutshell, basically, a few years ago, it's sort of called an Indigenous sensitivity awareness. I forget the exact name of the curriculum, but every year lawyers have to do 12 hours of continuing legal education that's required to be a member of the bar. Normally you would take those 12 hours divided into 2 courses and take maybe property law or something, updates on conveyancing or wills and estates, and you go and you take a couple of courses just to keep your skills up to date. So now 6 of those 12 hours are dedicated to this one course. And this lawyer and another lawyer attended the course and noticed that there was a mistake in the curriculum surrounding the much publicized story that there were 215 unmarked graves of children at the Kamloops residential school. Which the building's still there apparently, and these lawyers had written to the Law Society saying, actually, it's been confirmed in case law and everything that it's just potential graves, it's not confirmed, and that should be corrected in the curriculum. Well, they wouldn't answer his letters. They sent several letters just requesting put potential burial sites, like the word potential, and there was removal of 3 other words or something. It was quite a small adjustment. And the Law Society didn't respond to, I think, 3 or 4 different letters. So ultimately, these lawyers pushed for a resolution to be passed at the Law Society annual general meeting. And my understanding is that what happened was the Law Society linked these lawyers' proposition to some inflammatory language that was used to call these lawyers basically racist and what's called denialists. And a denialist is someone that's how they've labeled people who deny that there were residential schools in British Columbia or Canada. And nothing these lawyers were doing was denying that. I can't think of anybody who has denied it. Even in the many letters I've received over this situation, no one's denying that. So, they were called that it was racist to ask for these changes to the course. So ultimately, the lawyer decided to sue the Law Society for defamation. So I put up an X post that said, because this is the Law Society, let's remember. And I put up a post saying, we need to have the truth here in this situation and in this course. A truth that had already been confirmed by the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court of BC and the Court of Appeal. Anyway, that's where the problem started. And I was asked to take the post down because one other member of the party was extremely upset about it and asked for it to be pulled down. I said no. And John Rustad asked me again to take it down. And I said, I don't see why. We're just demanding truth at the Law Society. Like, this is absolutely what I should be doing here, John. Like, we can't have this being propagated at the Law Society. Let's just make it accurate with the current case law and the the own reportage of the Kamloops Band itself. That these are potential anomalies, potential burial sites, but it's all been rolled back to there's been no confirmation that there were bodies there. So at this point, maybe in the future, but right now. Anyway, it escalated. I came into a caucus meeting and it just exploded. And it had all the, hallmarks of literally a Maoist struggle session. There were people yelling at me, swearing at me, calling me names.
Members of your own party?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep. And I sat there thinking, I can't believe this is happening. And they were being allowed to just yell. One woman was swearing at me. It was nuts. And I stood up at one point to say, look, I don't know if all of you understand what the story. I stood up and I listened to all this. I just received it. And then I stood up and I calmly said, I don't know if all of you know what's been going on with this. This is related to the Law Society and something that I needed to correct in the ongoing curriculum at the Law Society. Well, it didn't seem to make any difference. I stood there and then I sat back down. And I let people go on about it again. And then what happened next? I sat there and then some people stood up to speak for me. And they were sworn at, called names. And, it was just getting so unpleasant that I sat there for quite a while. And then I just said, you know what? I don't think it's okay for me to sit here and take this anymore. So I didn't. John, I picked up my bag and I quietly walked out of the room and I just went downstairs to my office. And then after that, I guess things continued on. I don't know exactly what happened after that, but it was super unpleasant. And that's what happened. And then I did then I don't know when this happened. I did before the meeting, I had done a Zoom call with a group online where I had told about the experience I had over this. And in that, I had said that I made a, mocking comment about sort of postmodern cultural wokeism, where everybody gets to say my truth, his truth, your truth. And I made the point that there's only one objective truth. And this is what we deal with in law. And this got me in real trouble because the way I said it, I was accused of mocking child sex abuse victims, and that this was mocking the stories of those people, which was just shocking to me. I had no idea what they were saying when they were, one fellow MLA was really yelling at me about that, swearing at me. And so I realized later, and then that's when I basically was, a day went by and then I found out that I had been removed from the party, and a really, I would have to say, untruthful press release was issued about the situation, saying that I had mocked child sex abuse victims, and that's not what I was doing, but that's the excuse they used to make it seem, I think, much worse than it was. And here I am. I'm now sitting as an independent, and it's not what I expected to happen. Thought I was doing my job.
Yeah.
And there you have it.